Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After running through the news you need to know about, we run through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. So much to talk about in today's show. We'll start with the Jerome Baker injury, unfortunate injury with Brandon Jones running into him. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It was bad. It looked really bad at least against the Commanders. But he should be back for the playoffs, which is good. I think it was an MCL sprain of some kind. So it's not a massive anything that comes from the Bleacher Report and all the sources. I'm sure everybody's already heard about it. But again, another kind of honestly, it was one of Jerome's worst games of his career. I've never seen Jerome Baker play that bad in coverage in my life, even though they did some really cool things schematically to put him in bad situations. It wasn't really Jerome's fault. But he's had a great season all year. Really great scheme fit. And it was really nice to see him get kind of loosened up. And I thought in my opinion, he's been one of the more consistent players on defense and one of the better players on defense all season. So it's a big blow. Obviously, they're going to need Duke Riley to step up. It sucks Channing is wherever the heck Channing is at this point in his career. I don't really know. None of us really know. He's gotten less reps this year than he did the previous season. Clearly, Vic and Mike have this thing against rookie players. Or not against them, but they don't like playing players that don't have experience in the scheme or are younger and don't have a lot of experience playing. So I don't think Channing is going to be relied upon. So it's going to be interesting to see. I guess it'll just be Duke Riley and I know Duke's probably gotten a lot of hate, but this scheme fits him better. I think you've seen that for some of the snaps he took against the Commanders. He's a veteran guy. He's played a lot of football, and he's not going to be asked to do a ton. So it's going to be a drop-off, but hopefully it's not that bad. Speaking of linebackers, Dolphins to host former first-round pick Reuben Foster of the 49ers. This comes from Pro Football Rumors. The Dolphins will be hosting Reuben Foster on a workout this Wednesday. Obviously he's dealt with a lot of off-the-field issues. Very talented linebacker. I want to say this isn't the first time he's actually worked out for us. I think a few years ago he actually did in the off-season, if I'm not mistaken. Who knows where he's at in his career at this point. And like I just pointed out, this isn't a team that's going to plug and play players that aren't familiar with what they're doing. And this is a player that hasn't played NFL football in a long time. So this really doesn't mean anything to anybody on the team, I don't think. If they signed him, I don't even think you would see him play, honestly, similar to Chase Claypool. We've seen that a few times with some other players. If you don't know what you're doing on the field, if you're not caught up with the team, you're not going to play. It doesn't matter who or what or where you come from and how big of a name you have. You got to be prepared on Sundays. And I don't think Reuben Foster, not only from a talent standpoint, but from a preparation and knowledge of the scheme, there's just no shot he would even get on the field unless it's special teams. So this is kind of I wouldn't say it's like an awful situation. But it sucks that the Eagles ended up signing Darius Leonard. I was really hoping maybe they would kind of try to make a play because Darius is a person who's played in a scheme very similar to this. He wouldn't have to be caught up. He's a veteran player. So he could be one of the few people on the planet Earth that could have been a plug-and-play player in the scheme and could have played pretty fast. But, unfortunately, the Eagles made the move, and that's that. So, kind of sucks. But what are you going to do? This report comes from Omar Kelly. I don't know who Omar's work. I think Sports Illustrated. Obviously, Omar does good work. He's reporting that the Dolphins are looking into the defensive tackle market, which is interesting. You would think they would be looking in. Obviously, they're looking into the linebacker market, but I don't really know who in the world they could even obtain at this point. But obviously, they feel the need to do that. And I want to get an update on Terron Armstead. I really can't find a good one, but it was reported last week that he was going to miss a couple weeks, and then he ended up playing against the Commanders, which is a really good sign. But then I think in the game he sprained something. Again, he left the game with an injury. Hopefully, it's not something serious. Now, obviously, it sucks the injuries are kind of piling up, but it was really nice to see the O-line together against the Commanders. And when they're together, and I've brought this up many times, but the run game is just so much better, obviously. I thought Keon Smith, when he came in, he played good, but you got to understand, he was playing against people who are preseason, it would take major reps in the preseason. These aren't quality reps. These are obviously very low-level talent, especially on the edges when it comes to the Commanders. I haven't seen a bad edge players like that in a long time. They are very bad. So it was almost like he was playing against players on his level, basically. So that doesn't really matter. So we'll see what happens with him. I hope. And honestly, I guess we really never know with Terron Armstead. But it's nice to have the interior intact, and hopefully he can get back healthy. It seems like Devon Holland is coming back healthy as well for the Monday night game, which is good. I'm not really even sure why he missed the game that he missed. It was a very strange one. I mean, he played the entire game. I think he did take... I forgot about that weird hit he took against the Jets where he... kind of seemed like it would be more of a significant injury. It was just a weird way his knee or his neck kind of bent there. But he seems to be fine. So that's really it for the news. I think we covered it all. It sucks Jerome got hurt. Very unfortunate. But I don't know whether we will get into the game. Maybe we'll get into the game first. But there's other things I think that need to be talked about this team. So we'll get into the game first. First of all, I think the player, I wouldn't say maybe honestly the player of the game is probably Van Ginkel, who's been having a phenomenal season. He's played so good on the edge. Every time he's been played on the edge this year, he's looked phenomenal. I don't know. It makes me wonder why they even switched him at any point to middle linebacker. At all. And again, they did rotate them where he would still sometimes play on the edge, but Van Ginkel is such a good player, and it sucks that I don't know what his future on the team is. Probably not going to be great, which sucks because they have so many great players, and he's a way above average. He could definitely make the Pro Bowl on the edge easily. He's really turned into a phenomenal edge player, and I mean when we talk about against the run, against the pass, he does it all so well. And now that he's taking reps at linebacker, he can do some of those coverage things we like to do at that position very well, better than he's ever has before. And so he's just so much better at this point in his career. And you think about it, he almost went to New England. Vic Fangio convinces him to stay here. That could have been an awful situation for Dolphins fans, seeing him in a New England uniform. Started playing well. He would have played really well in the scheme for them. Obviously, he has a lot of experience in that scheme. Just a phenomenal player. And one of them, I mean, honestly, such... And again, it sucks because a lot of the players are really starting to find their rhythm. Excuse me. They're really starting to find their rhythm. And to turn into the players that we foresaw them to be, at least what the front office did, A lot of them are starting to do that, and it sucks we can't keep them all because it's such a fun team to watch, and he's just another great player that will probably, I want to say Van Ginkel, it's a 1-year deal. It's just very unfortunate. I'll at the end of the show we'll look that up because I'm pretty sure it was a 1-year deal and not a 2-year deal, but I could be wrong about that. Yeah, so Van Ginkel was phenomenal in this game. Defensively, the secondary is so fun to watch. I mean, even without Javon Holland, it smothers the other team. The three corners, Cater, Kohu, Jalen Ramsey, and Xavier Hatt, they're just so good. And, so good. The communication has been great. They're just playing way... Again, this is a testament to Vic Fangio. They're playing like they've played in this scheme for a year. He's... Progressively, everybody has just gotten better. And that's hats off to the coaching because he's done a phenomenal job with that. And Brandon Jones, God bless him, he definitely has lost a step, and he was playing out of position at that free safety spot, which is not normally what he does. And you could see the athletic drop off between him and Holland, and which isn't great. And it showed up in this game as well. He just can't cover nearly as much ground as Holland can, and he's not really a free safety, so it kind of was a double blow, and that was really the only thing that I was like, that didn't look great. And we talked about the drone. The Commanders did a lot of really good things schematically, matching up Curtis Samuel, who was a receiver for a long time, and I think still, I don't know if they play him at running back. I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Commanders games. I don't know if he's listed as a running back now. But he did do that at Carolina, too, where he would play receiver and running back. I think he did that at Ohio State. I could be wrong. But they did a lot of... they had a good plan on offense. Still didn't matter because our defense... And another thing I'll bring up is defensively, we give teams different looks every single week, which is not something Josh Boyer did. But even in this game, we brought back the old blitz we used to do with Brian and Josh in this game. It's the first time I've seen that in forever. We did it one time. It's just the variety of looks, and they continue to give teams different looks every week defensively, and they're just great. They're so good. Christian Wilkins is so good. Bradley Chubb, I think, has had a pretty good season. His numbers aren't ridiculous, but he plays good football, and he's a good edge player. And his numbers could be better than they are if it wasn't for a couple weird thing. We could go back and look at some of the film. It's that's kind of a strange happenstance or situation to be in. But yeah, the play calling, the coaching, the talent, it's all there. And again, I can't say enough of how good of a job Vic has done. I mean, even improving the run defense, moving pieces around to make it better, playing Christian Wilkins defensive end more, doing everything that he can to improve the team and make them better. And it's just cool to see that on the field. As Dolphins fans, we haven't seen that a lot of a team, especially defensively or offensively, and I think offensively as well, just get better as the year goes on. Usually it's the opposite, where we would have a hot start, and we would just kind of, as the season went on, gradually get worse in certain situations. So it's good to see that, and Vic has done a phenomenal job with the defense. Offensively, A-Chain is who I want to bring up immediately. He opens up the offense in so many different ways because we can run a lot more of those edge runs that we're so good at. And I've brought this up before, but Raheem Mostert is the only one on the team, and Devon A-Chain, who can do it. Jeff Wilson is incapable of it, and so is Ahmed. They're not the athletes that those two are. And it just kills a lot. A lot of our plays get taken out when they're in the game. It's just a fact. There's no drop in pace. There's no drop in anything. There's no tell when either one of the two are in the game. So the defense really can't key on anything when those two are in the game. You have no idea what we're going to do. If personnel-wise, if either one of them are in the game. And the great thing about Mostert is he can run in between the tackles at a very high level. So you really don't know. And honestly, A-Chain's really good at it too. And they did a lot of that at Texas A&M, where they ran him in between the tackles. And that's good that they misused him like they did, because that's translated on the next level, and that's an asset of his game. Like, there have been a few times, especially in the red zone, where he's weaved in and out of traffic in the interior for touchdowns. So it makes the offense much better. They need to keep those two healthy as much as possible, because there is a big drop off. And in play calling, it limits some of the stuff that we can do and some of the stuff that we're really good at. So, and again, you can't say enough about, and especially me, how wrong I was about A-Chain. I mean, just a great draft pick by Chris, and looking back on some of these drafts, and at the time, Austin Jackson's a great example. Some of these drafts, you look back on them, and they look a lot better. A-Chain was one of those guys. I was like, all right, I didn't really know what he was, and he's just a phenomenal pick for this team. He's a superstar level player that we got in the 3rd round, and that's just great drafting, and that's what great organizations do, and that's what we've been doing for a few years now, is picking good players, and not just good players, found great value in the later round. I mean, Javon Holland was a 2nd round pick, so it's just great general managing by Chris, and A-Chain is so fun to watch and is such a good player. So I think that's what stood out to me offensively most, is like, okay, when the offensive line is together, there's clearly a difference on the line of scrimmage. That's a very obvious thing to point out. And then A-Chain just opens up everything for the playbook, and you can't really key on what we're doing when he's in, so it puts way more pressure on the defenses, and it opens up the playbook way more than if the other two. It's like a shackle on the offense when, and I don't mean to be mean, but I mean it's just it is what it is. A-Chain finished with 73 yards rushing. Mostert had 43. And considering that the Commanders are really good in the interior, I thought the Dolphins did a really good job, not only in pass protection, but in run blocking as well. And that showed up in this game. I guess a really good interior front. And I believe the Commanders coming into this game were 9th in the NFL in pass defense, which is kind of weird to think about. And that didn't matter in this game at all. What else? There's really nothing else offensive. I thought Tua had a great game. One thing I want to say about Tua, and this is just not his fault, this is our fault. Because this is the best offensive line that he's played behind, he has a quicker internal clock than he should sometimes. And he kind of, like, maybe he thinks there's more pressure sometimes around him than there actually is. And a few times in this game, and in other games as well, you can see that, where it's like, okay, you do have time to calm down, you're fine, and again, this just comes back down to when the past offensive lines that he's played behind, and it's 1 or 2 plays a game. It's not a consistent thing. And one of the things why I bring that up is in this game, I thought he did a really good job of, and I think his entire career, and since he's been a Dolphin, is by far, he has the best pocket presence since Marino, and out of any of the other quarterbacks that we've had. And I think he's really starting to get comfortable behind the line. And you're really starting to see that again. Him sidestepping people and stuff like that. And he's not got 3 guys coming in free and stuff, dumb stuff that used to happen where a guy literally comes in free on the snap of the ball. Stuff like that isn't happening anymore. And you can really start to see his pocket kind of come alive. And I thought that happened in this game. So what else did we have? Tyreek Hill again. Tyreek Hill averaged 31 yards a catch in this game. 2 touchdowns. Mind-boggling the way that the Commanders played us in this game. I honestly feel like The only explanation I can come up with is for whatever reason teams continue to disrespect Tua, and they can keep doing that, and they can keep giving up long touchdowns if they want to, but that's kind of what happened in this game. It's the only real explanation I can give, because why else would you do it if you're the Commanders? And Waddle played really good. He didn't get a lot of opportunities because the game got out of hand quick. He did have another drop in this game, and honestly, the Dolphins are really high in drops, which is weird. And Tyreek Hill and Waddle, I don't know what it is about these two. For whatever reason, they have a drop a game, and it's always on third down or a crucial down. I don't know why. Hopefully that stops. But also, I want to bring up Julian Hill, who's actually looked good. I think he has a future on this team. He's looked good in a few games, and I think he's really starting to kind of get trusted enough to be involved in the passing game, because he's kind of taking those snaps from Smythe, even ever since the injury, and I thought he's made the most out of his opportunity. He's looked good in the run blocking game. He's a lot more athletic. He's a bigger dude, and I thought he's had a pretty decent season, and I think he's got a good future ahead of him as a Dolphin. So that's it. We covered the game. We destroyed them at every facet of the game. They had no chance from the beginning of the game. Sam Howell, who is one of the league leaders in passing yards, had 127 yards passing. If that doesn't tell you all you need to know about the secondary, I don't know what else to tell you. Shout out to the tackling on this team as well. It's phenomenal. And ever since Cater got here, I mean, he's always been a great tackler. Terry McLaurin is non-existent in this game. Like, just stuff like that. It's just, like, not normal. It's very special stuff. So, now before I end the video, and I need to do the fan Q&A. Next week, I won't forget to do that. But I want to talk about, and I haven't done this in a long time. I haven't really felt the need to, but it's being shoved in everybody's face constantly especially since the HBO show has come on. And I love I've actually watched the first 2 episodes. I think it's, it's just fun. It's a fun show. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, the national media's coverage of this team is bananas, and it's almost crazy. Like, because I don't know if people just forget, or this just kind of illustrates how little people do research for stuff. But I feel like the disrespect, and I hate to even bring this up, of Tua is out of control to a point where it's actually getting ridiculous. And I wanted to bring this up because everybody's saying, this team wouldn't be the same without Tyreek Hill. And it wouldn't be the same. Of course it wouldn't be the same. But the fact that Tua is nothing without him. And literally people have said that in shows. And I'm sure you guys have seen, if you have the Bleacher Report app, they have that compilation of people just flat out saying some of the craziest stuff about Tua. He's like, oh, we know what he would be without Tyreek. And it's like, I hate when former Jets players say stuff like that too, dude. It actually sends me up. Like, it makes me want to just destroy everything. Like, some of the stuff that these analysts say, and they do obviously clearly have allegiances to other. Some maybe they still harbor hate. I don't know, but it's irrational and it's dumb and it's ignorant. As this thing turns on. So I wanted to go through, and everybody who listens to this show is a I would say probably an above average Dolphins fan, where you've probably, I would say, I would hope to God every Dolphins fan would remember when Tua got hurt last year and just how awful this offense was without him. I would hope to God everybody remembers that. So in case you don't, we're about to go through the numbers right here. And in my personal opinion, and honestly, this might be just a fact, we literally got to see it. And I've seen Tua without everybody on it. Like, every team and every great quarterback has a great receiver. That's just a fact. If you look at it, every Hall of Fame quarterback, that's literally just a fact. And Tua gets one, and for some reason, it's all Hill. And Tua gets no credit, to the point where people think he's like a bad quarterback without him. Clearly, that's not the case for a variety of reasons. The anticipation alone, the coolness that he plays with, especially under pressure. I mean, I just watched a game where Geno Smith, against the same blitz looks that the Commanders gave Tua and the Chargers gave him in Week 1, fold under that pressure and throw some of the worst balls I've ever seen in my life. It went to the blitz came to the left. He's looking downfield the entire time. His instincts lead him to step up to the right of the pocket to get a better platform to throw the football, and throws a 67-yard bomb for a touchdown. Perfect throw. Against a pressure look. There are so many quarterbacks that will not do that. Like, even I'm talking about top 10 quarterbacks that don't do that. That is a special skill that he's had since Alabama. The feel for the game, and being a great pocket passer. And there is stuff that he does that is great on film, and people just don't see it for whatever reason. And I do believe that people just don't watch him play, I don't know what it is, man. I really don't know why Tua gets random hate from people. But, because it doesn't make any sense. It's like, are you not seeing the same? Are you not watching the game? I mean, so back to the topic at hand, which is, what were Tyreek Hill's stats without Tua last year? So I wanted to, obviously, I think everybody should remember this. I don't know why, and honestly, it's kind of stupid for me to bring this up on the show, because everybody listening to the show knows this, but I just wanted to go through it anyway. Tua, when Skylar Thompson made his first start as a Dolphin against the Jets, Tyreek Hill had 47 yards against the New York Jets. Okay? The following game, okay, this is the best game he's ever had without Tua. He had 12 receptions, 177 yards against the Minnesota Vikings. Now, some of that came off of a screen, and just his ability to make plays was really what happened in that game. Because Skylar Thompson, God bless him, he's a fine player, but he makes really bad, and he's very inconsistent when it comes to accuracy. The next game against New England, and don't even get me started on Teddy Bridgewater. This is one of the games, we should have beat New England by 20 points in this game. If you go back and look at the film of this game, people are wide open. Not just Tyreek Hill, or Jalen Waddle too. But Teddy Bridgewater's terrible, so he finished with 55 yards receiving. The last game of the season against the Jets, he had 23 yards receiving. Because we played so close to the vest, because we had Skylar Thompson playing. This was a game to make the playoffs. We played through our defense in that game, and we won. And the reason we did that is because we can't trust any of those guys to throw the football. So let's move on to the playoff game against the Buffalo Bills. And by the way, in all of these games, Tyreek Hill has one touchdown without Tua. One. Tyreek Hill had 7 receptions for 69 yards. And if Tua was in the game, it would have been one of the greatest moments in Dolphins history in the last 25 years. Skylar Thompson misses Tyreek Hill wide open over the middle for a 60-yard touchdown to take the lead very late in the fourth quarter. And one of the most heartbreaking moments, like, as a fan, that you could possibly have, because this dude decides to throw late into the sideline to Mike Gesicki to lose the game. Instead, if Tua was in the game, that was an easy layup of a touchdown. So the point here that I'm trying to make is that we've seen what Hill does without Tua, and we've seen the game, we've literally seen it. I mean, the questions that they're asking on these shows is like, would you rather play Tyreek Hill without Tua or Tua without Tyreek Hill? The obvious answer would be Tua without Tyreek Hill. Now, would we be worse? Absolutely, we would be. But would we have a better chance to win games if we didn't have Tyreek Hill and still had Tua? Yeah, obviously we would. Who's more important to the team? Tua. It's not even close. It's not even a debate. That's just a fact. And you know why? Because he's a quarterback of the team, and he's a great one. He's a phenomenal quarterback, and that's the reason. I mean, how dumb of a question is that, dude? It's just ridiculous. It's a ridiculous question. That fade route that we run to by the way, a 5'9" receiver, okay? that he scored against Michael Davis against the Chargers, and then he dropped it. It was a perfect throw. He dropped it against the Jets, right? I don't, honestly to God, and I mean this, I don't think there's another quarterback in the league that could make that throw. I'm being dead serious. I don't think there's, maybe Patrick Mahomes could do it. Maybe Joe. I think Joe Burrow has the best chance of making that throw. But that's an insane. That is first of all, fade routes to be thrown that perfectly in general are hard to do. But to do that with a 5'9" receiver against a guy who is many inches taller than him, and Sauce Gardner and Michael Davis, by the way. So and there are other throws that he's made that is just, when we talk about anticipation or even the context of the play where he's under pressure or has a zero blitz look and he makes a play. There's so many examples of that. So it just is I think, a ridiculous thing to say. And again, the numbers prove that. 23 yards, 55 yards, 47 yards. And against the Bills, I think he had 69 yards. And there were a lot of plays left out there on the field. The amount of disrespect he gets for no reason is what it is. Honestly, most of the people in that video that I saw, I would never go to, I don't respect enough to listen to when it comes to football. It's just a fact. A lot of these guys, and God bless them, they were great when they were on the field, but a lot of them don't follow the game after they're done playing, and that shows in a lot of the analyst job that they have. It shows and a lot of them are just on debate shows screaming at each other. They're not even analyzing anything. There's a few good ones out there that aren't even pro Tua. Like I think Chris Sims is a great example of someone who actually analyzes the game. And I disagree with him a lot on some of the stuff he says, not just about Tua, but some of the stuff about other teams on football. And but that doesn't mean, like, there's not a lot of him who come with like intelligent points and opinions and arguments. There's not a lot of those guys. A lot of them are just idiots. So my point is, like, who cares what these guys have to say? Honest to God, who cares? But it just is ridiculous. Like, the disrespect. I mean, even Michael Parsons coming out and saying, I could throw the ball. No, you could not. Like, that's the most ridiculous statement in the world, man. Ridiculous. Well, how about Skylar Thompson, or everybody loves Teddy Bridgewater? He couldn't throw to Tyreek Hill. So, like, it doesn't make any sense to me. So it is what it is. Who cares? I haven't been this mad at the media in a long time when it comes to the Dolphins. But yeah, it is what it is. I hate to leave it off on a negative. I don't even know if it is negative. Honestly, it kind of is, like, relieving in a way, because it's like, just these are the people that just sludge all the time. Just nonsense. And these sports shows are terrible. And I've said this before on this show. I just absolutely terrible. Someone should do a tier list of worst sports analysts on the planet. And a lot of them would be from ESPN. Because it's out of control, dude. And you want to talk about, people, especially with their former players, and not every former player is an idiot. That's not true at all. But not every former player is a good analyst. That's just a fact. And most of them aren't. And that shows. And sometimes fans are treated like idiots. Like someone can't learn the game of football because they didn't play it at a high level. That's ridiculous, dude. And some of the stuff that people say that have played at a high level is factually just incorrect. Like, and then I don't even want to get into it. Like, it's just some of this stuff is just ridiculous, dude. Just the level of all of these sports shows are terrible. They're just terrible. There are a few good ones. I think, like, the Dan Patrick Show is a great sports show, I think. But I think the Chris Sims show, the podcast, not the one that they do with Mike Florio, but the podcast I think is good. I kind of wish they would go back to what they used to do with like some of the film breakdown stuff more than they do now. But it's few and far between. I don't even, I guess that's really all I have to say about that. A lot of jumbled points, but, but it's a phenomenal team. It's the first time since 2001. It's the best start. And I remember even last year when we failed to go 9-3 and how heartbroken I was, because it's like, we really had an opportunity to do something special. And in this year we did it. And it makes me happy. And I've said all season long, the only thing I want is a home playoff game. That's it. And hopefully we get it. And not only do I want a home play, but I want my starting quarterback to play in it. That would be great, because that hasn't happened in over 20 years either. But the team is phenomenal. Despite what people's opinions are of the quarterback that has been great just all year, and we're blessed to have this team, and I'm just thankful that we have a team like this, because it's been rough, some of the teams that we've had to sit through over the years. But I would love for someone to I don't even know if I would actually like that. So someone who's just this is what Tua is like. And it's at that point, I would love for someone like Peyton Manning to go get on a show with one of these people and just kind of break down quarterback play. Because I feel like, and I don't know what he would say, but I feel like he would come out to being much more positive than some of these opinions that some of these opinions where people didn't even play quarterback. But it's you scratch your head sometimes at some of the things that these people say. So that's it. I don't want to leave on a negative note. Everything's great in Dolphin Land. We have a show. This is the most popular the teams have been, by the way, in a long time. And it's nice to have bandwagon fans, even though it's all right, whatever. But it kind of shows you the state of the team and the franchise, which is very, very positive. And the amount of fans that were in Washington Stadium, which I think would have, is just just hear the "Let's Go Dolphins" chants on the road is fun. So that's it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, and I'll see you guys in the next one.